Have you ever found yourself asking, why is he so into me one day, and then distant the next? Maybe he remembers your favorite childhood movie, or the way you take your coffee. But when it comes to emotional openness, he shuts down. One minute he's texting you good morning and asking, how your day's going? And the next, he's cold, quiet, or pulling away. If this roller coaster of mixed signals feels all too familiar, you're not alone. And no, you're not crazy. Here's the truth. There's a method to this madness. And it's not manipulation, and it's definitely not immaturity. It's psychology. When a man is genuinely falling for someone, his behavior doesn't always align with what we expect love to look like. Why? Because men fall in love differently than women do. They don't always lead with emotion. They lead with action, observation, and more often than not, a storm of internal conflict. What looks like playing games is often something much more complex. Curiosity, caution, chemistry, and even fear. In this 5-part series, we're going deep into the 6 most powerful psychological signs that a man is falling for you, even if he doesn't know it yet. These are not surface-level cliché behaviors. These are deep, emotionally driven actions rooted in human bonding, vulnerability, and subconscious attachment. And once you understand them, you'll stop overthinking his every move and start seeing the truth behind them instead. Let's begin with one of the most telling and misunderstood signs of all. Psychological sign number 1, the mirror effect, when his subconscious reflects you. You've probably heard of mirroring in the context of body language. It's what people do, often subconsciously, when they're in rapport with someone. They mimic posture, facial expressions, or tone of voice. But when a man is falling for you, mirroring doesn't stop there. In fact, it goes far deeper than most people realize. When a man is emotionally drawn to a woman, especially when he's not yet ready to admit it to himself, his subconscious starts syncing with hers. He'll begin adopting your energy, your expressions, your texting style, your tempo, your slang. And the craziest part? He often has no idea he's doing it. It's not an act. It's not a tactic. It's a primal human bonding response. Why does this happen? Mirroring is a deeply rooted psychological phenomenon. It's part of how we form emotional connections and create trust on a subconscious level. Think about it. We trust what feels familiar. We feel safe when someone speaks our emotional language. And that's exactly what mirroring provides. Unspoken emotional safety. When a man starts mirroring you, he's subconsciously saying, I'm like you. You can trust me. I get you. It's an instinctive effort to align with the person who's captured his emotional attention. Because in his mind, he's already bonding with you, even if he hasn't put it into words yet. What to look for? Mirroring can show up in subtle yet powerful ways. For example, if you tend to be expressive and animated, he might suddenly start using more emojis, adding exclamation marks, or becoming more playful. If your vibe is calm and thoughtful, he might start lowering his voice, softening his tone, or slowing his pace to match yours. If you say a particular phrase or have a quirky laugh, you may notice him repeating that phrase back or matching your laughter pattern. It's not mockery. It's not mimicry. It's connection, and it goes beyond just one-on-one conversation. Watch what happens in group settings. Do his arms cross shortly after yours? If you lean forward while talking, does he naturally do the same? Does his energy rise when yours does, or dip when you're feeling low? These are all subconscious signs that his nervous system is syncing with yours. But here's the catch. Not every guy who mirrors you is falling in love. Some people mirror out of habit or social training. The difference lies in consistency and depth. When a man is emotionally invested, his mirroring won't be fleeting. It will show up across different situations over time. You'll begin to feel like the two of you are gradually speaking the same language. You might start finishing each other's sentences, laughing at the same moments, even having the same cravings or ideas without discussing them first. It's like he becomes a more familiar version of himself when he's around you. That's the mirror effect in full motion. Emotional mirroring, the part most people miss. Here's where it gets even more intimate. The real magic of the mirror effect happens not just with words or posture, but with emotion. Watch how he reacts to your emotional states. For instance, when you're feeling anxious, does he suddenly act more serious, even if he doesn't know why? When you're excited, does his energy level shift, even if he doesn't fully understand what you're excited about? When you're feeling vulnerable, does he become more tender or introspective? That's emotional resonance. That's his nervous system responding to yours. And men don't fake that. Most don't even realize they're doing it. But it's one of the clearest indicators of emotional attachment. Because we only emotionally mirror people we feel safe with, or deeply intrigued by. So what does it mean if you notice this? If you're noticing that a man is starting to reflect you in these subtle but consistent ways, it's not random. He's not just trying to impress you. He's not playing mind games. His subconscious mind is already bonding with you. Even before his conscious mind catches up, his body and behavior are revealing the truth. He's emotionally aligning with you. And once this starts happening, it usually doesn't stop. Because this kind of mirroring is an early silent signal of emotional attachment. It's the beginning of something real. Even if he hasn't said the words yet. Before you move on, here's your reflection prompt for this part of the series. Have I noticed him subtly reflecting my language, energy, or emotions? Is this behavior consistent? And does it feel instinctive rather than forced? If the answer is yes, you may already be witnessing the first signs of emotional connection. And now you know what to look for. We uncovered the mirror effect, a deep, psychological sign that a man's nervous system is syncing with yours. When he's falling for you, often without even realizing it. But emotional mirroring is just the beginning of real connection. Now we're diving into one of the most misunderstood and easily missed signs that a man is emotionally invested. Selective vulnerability. No, this isn't about a man pouring his heart out over dinner or suddenly confessing his deepest fears in a late-night text. That's not how it works, especially for men who've been conditioned to be guarded. Selective vulnerability is about intentional glimpses, small, carefully chosen disclosures, just enough to test the waters, but not enough to lose control. Let's unpack exactly what this means, and why it's one of the clearest signs he's emotionally drawn to you. Men and vulnerability, the silent struggle. From a young age, many men are taught that strength equals silence, that vulnerability is weakness, that emotions make you less of a man. So when a man opens up, even a little, it's not accidental. It's meaningful. It's deliberate. It's an internal shift that most don't even have the words to explain. He might say, I don't normally talk about this. I've never told anyone this before. Or even more subtly, this is going to sound stupid, but when you hear any version of these phrases, pay attention, because what follows may not sound earth-shattering. It might be a story from his past, a quiet admission of doubt, or a quirky insecurity. But what matters isn't the content, it's the context. This is his version of saying, can you hold this part of me? Will you accept me even here? The test behind the truth. Selective vulnerability is rarely about unburdening. It's about testing emotional safety. Men don't just talk to connect, they risk to connect. He's not handing you his heart. He's offering a fragment of it, watching how you respond, and asking himself silently, can I trust you with more? If your reaction is warm, curious, and accepting, it signals safety to him. If it's dismissive, awkward, or judgmental, even unintentionally, he may shut the door again. And the truth is, many women miss these moments because they seem so casual. He's not crying. He's not asking for help. He's just sharing something personal. And that's where the misunderstanding happens. What looks like small talk may be a man's version of emotional risk. How it shows up in real life. Let's look at some common forms of selective vulnerability. He mentions a fear or insecurity, not dramatically, but enough that you know it's personal. Maybe it's something like, I used to hate public speaking. I always felt like I'd mess up. He brings up a challenge from his past. For example, that job almost broke me. I started to wonder if I was cut out for this. These statements may sound casual, but they're revealing internal struggle, something men rarely show unless they feel a growing emotional pull. He jokes about something real. Humor is often a mask. If he makes light of something that sounds serious, like his upbringing, a failure, or an ongoing fear, it might be his way of revealing while staying protected. And the most important part? He's watching your reaction more than your words. He's scanning for judgment, discomfort, or emotional closeness. If he feels safe, the vulnerability increases. If he doesn't, he'll likely pull back or shift the topic. The power of space and response. Here's where your role becomes essential. Men don't open up because they want to. They open up because they feel safe to. And when he offers you a piece of vulnerability, your response is what decides whether that door stays open. You don't have to say something profound. You don't have to fix anything. In fact, don't. What matters is how you hold space. Do you listen without interrupting? Do you lean in emotionally, not just physically? Do you validate what he's feeling, even if you don't fully understand it? When a man experiences your presence as grounding, non-judgmental, and emotionally safe, something profound happens. He begins to associate you with relief, with truth, with home. That's where intimacy begins. He doesn't need you to solve it, just to see him. It's tempting to want to jump in and help when someone shares something vulnerable. But here's what many women don't realize. Men don't need you to solve their emotions. They need you to see them. If he shares a fear or failure, he's not always looking for advice. He's testing. Can I be real with her? Will she still respect me? Will she still want me? You'd be amazed at how healing it is for a man to feel emotionally accepted without feeling emotionally exposed. That's why selective vulnerability is one of the strongest signs that he's falling, because he's doing the very thing he was taught not to do, letting someone in. Why selective vulnerability is so rare. This kind of emotional expression doesn't happen with just anyone. That's why it's so powerful. He might be surrounded by friends who know him on a surface level. He might be the life of the party. But if he's selectively letting you in, telling you things no one else hears, that means something. It means you're different. He may not even realize he's giving you access to his internal world, but he is. And once that door opens, even a crack, it's your response that determines whether it swings wider or shuts. Key questions to ask yourself. Have you noticed him share something unexpectedly personal? Has he made quiet admissions about past pain, fear, or failure? Did he react to your response in a way that seemed significant, quieter, softer, more open afterward? If you're nodding, you've likely seen the beginning of selective vulnerability. And when a man chooses to be emotionally real with you, it's one of the strongest indicators that you're not just another connection. You're someone who matters. By now, we've uncovered two powerful psychological signs a man is falling for you. The mirror effect and selective vulnerability. These show his subconscious syncing with yours, and his emotional walls beginning to lower. But there's another behavior that speaks volumes, sometimes louder than his words ever could. It's what I call strategic attention. And it's not about flattery, compliments, or good morning texts. It's something deeper, quieter, and far more revealing. Strategic attention is when a man notices and remembers the little things, the small details most people forget, and the moments that matter to you even more than they matter to him. It's how a man builds emotional intimacy when he can't or won't say, "I'm falling for you" out loud. It's also one of the most consistent clues that his interest in you is emotional, not just physical. More than listening, he's collecting you. Let's be honest. Most of us have met people who can listen during a conversation, nod and smile, but by the next day, they've forgotten half of what we said. That's not strategic attention. When a man is truly emotionally drawn to you, he becomes selectively tuned in. Not just to what you say, but how you say it. Not just to your likes and dislikes, but to your patterns, your moods, your needs, and even your silences. He's not just hearing you, he's collecting you. That's the key distinction. This isn't about him memorizing facts to win you over. This is about you taking up mental and emotional space in his internal world. You're not a passing thought. You're becoming part of his emotional landscape. What it looks like in action. You might casually mention that you hate Mondays, and the next few weeks, he checks in every Monday just to lift your mood. You might mention your favorite flower is sunflowers, and 3 weeks later, he sends you a random sunflower emoji. or jokingly calls you sunshine. You might vent about a work stressor, and even if he doesn't fully understand it, he remembers it and brings it up again later. Not because he has to, but because he wants to. Because you matter to him, and so everything connected to you holds weight. And here's the most important thing. He doesn't bring it up to impress you. He brings it up because it's imprinted on him. Emotionally invested men don't always express themselves with grand gestures. Often their feelings show up in these tiny, deliberate acknowledgments. He may not always say "I care," but his attention will prove it. Why it's so powerful. In today's world, attention is rare. We live in a culture of half-listening, distraction, and emotional unavailability. So when a man consistently remembers your preferences, recalls your stories, and responds to your needs without you having to repeat yourself, that is powerful and rare. This is how emotional intimacy is built. Not through sweeping declarations, but through presence. Presence that says, "I see you. I'm listening. You matter enough for me to hold on to this even when you're not around." It's not about what's big, it's about what's personal. Let's make something clear. Strategic attention is not always flashy. In fact, some of the most meaningful examples are the quietest ones. He notices when your tone changes, even slightly. He brings you water before you ask. He checks in when he knows you're anxious, even if you haven't said a word that day. He recalls a childhood story you shared weeks ago, and uses it to make you laugh or feel understood. That's not surface-level interest. That's emotional investment. Because here's the truth. A man who is casually interested may compliment your smile, your dress, your laugh. A man who is deeply interested? He'll remember the why behind that smile. He'll reference the memory behind the laugh. He'll look for ways to nurture what lights you up. Timing, his secret weapon. One of the most fascinating things about strategic attention is timing. He may not always respond to something right away, but then, weeks later, in a moment when it truly matters, he'll say or do something that shows he remembered. That's not random. That's emotional intelligence. Let's say you once mentioned how you felt like you weren't good enough in school growing up. He may not say anything in that moment, but a month later, when you're doubting yourself about something totally unrelated, he'll remind you of your growth through the lens of that old story. That's the difference between being heard and being understood. He's using what you shared to build deeper emotional context between you. He's weaving your story into how he shows up for you. Strategic attention builds emotional trust. You know that incredible feeling when someone remembers something you didn't expect them to remember? It makes you feel seen, important, valued. That feeling builds emotional trust. And emotional trust builds emotional safety. And when a woman feels emotionally safe with a man, she opens up. She softens. She stops questioning where she stands. And that's exactly what a man who's falling in love wants. Not your surface self, but your real self. So when he shows up consistently with this kind of presence, he's not just collecting facts about you. He's quietly building a place where you feel safe to be known. That's not just attraction, that's foundation. Here's what to ask yourself. As you reflect on your connection with him, ask yourself these questions. Does he bring up small things you've only mentioned once? Does he check in about things that matter to you, not just what matters to him? Does he remember emotional details that even your close friends might forget? Has he ever used something you shared to support you when you least expected it? If you're nodding, you're experiencing one of the deepest signs of emotional connection. Because strategic attention isn't just remembering what you say. It's acting on it. It's weaving it into how he relates to you. That's love in motion. Even if the word love hasn't been spoken yet. By now you've seen how real emotional interest shows up subtly, but powerfully. First through mirroring, then selective vulnerability, and most recently through strategic attention. The kind that makes you feel deeply seen and remembered. But now it's time to talk about something even more revealing. It's a truth that most people overlook. You can learn more about how a man feels by watching his body than listening to his words. Because while words can be filtered, planned, or even avoided, body language is raw, honest, and often completely subconscious. And when a man is truly drawn to you, his body gives him away in ways he doesn't even realize. So in part, We're breaking down the exact body language cues that reveal emotional attraction, hidden desire, and quiet emotional safety. Once you understand this unspoken language, you'll never look at his actions the same again. Body orientation, the compass of desire. Let's start with one of the most obvious, yet constantly ignored cues: orientation. When a man is emotionally and physically drawn to you, his body naturally orients itself in your direction. That means his feet often point toward you, even if his eyes or conversation are somewhere else. His chest faces you, especially in group settings where he could turn away, but doesn't. His shoulders are open, not closed off or angled away. Why does this happen? Because the body gravitates toward what it desires. And when you're the one he's focused on, his physical presence will always lean in your direction, literally. If he's standing, he may subtly shift closer. If he's sitting, he may turn his whole torso to face you. And no, it's not conscious. It's instinct. Watch this in public places or around friends. He might not even be speaking to you directly, but his body will subtly track you, like a compass drawn to magnetic north. Proximity, closing the gap without asking. The next cue is proximity, the invisible space between you and him. Men who are indifferent tend to keep their distance. They maintain polite, respectful space, especially if they're unsure or emotionally guarded. But when a man is emotionally drawn to you, that space starts to shrink. He'll stand a little closer than necessary. He'll lean in when you talk. He might find excuses to sit beside you, even in crowded rooms. And here's the key. He doesn't always touch you, but he makes it easy for touch to happen. That's attraction working silently. His nervous system wants closeness. His conscious mind might hesitate, but his body will start to invite connection without ever needing to say it aloud. Grooming behaviors, subconscious signaling. Have you ever noticed him running his hand through his hair, adjusting his shirt collar or sleeves, checking his reflection in his phone screen? These aren't random. These are grooming behaviors, and they almost always indicate nervous energy or subconscious signaling. It's his body's way of saying, I want to look better for you, without admitting that I care how I look. He might fix his posture when you walk into the room. He might take a deeper breath when you sit beside him. He might subconsciously try to prepare himself when you're around. None of it is calculated. It's biological readiness. His attraction is triggering a primal instinct to present himself in the best possible light. Eye contact, the window into what he feels. This is one of the biggest giveaways, and it's one that most women already sense, even before they can explain why. When a man is falling for you, his eyes will seek yours. And not just occasionally. You'll catch him looking at you when you're not speaking. You're laughing with someone else. You're focused on something else entirely. And when your eyes meet, he might hold that gaze a beat longer than normal, or quickly look away, and then glance back again. That's attraction mixed with vulnerability. Some men get shy with eye contact. Others get bold. But if he's emotionally invested, he can't not look at you. And if he looks at your mouth when you're talking, that's another sign of subconscious desire. Watch for softening in his expression when you speak. A relaxed jaw, a hint of a smile, or even the way he blinks slower around you. These tiny details often mean he's emotionally present, fully tuned into you in that moment. Mirrored movement, nervous systems in sync. We talked about mirroring in part 1. But here it shows up in an even more subtle way, physical syncing. For example, if you cross your legs, he might follow. If you take a sip of your drink, he might do the same seconds later. If you shift your weight or lean forward, he may match your posture unconsciously. This isn't mockery, it's biological alignment. His nervous system is syncing with yours. When we feel connected, our bodies want to match rhythm. This is true of romantic partners, close friends, and even deeply bonded animals. It's not forced, it's felt. And when it shows up, it's a reliable indicator that emotional intimacy is building beneath the surface. Hands, tension, and nervous tells. Pay attention to his hands. Are they relaxed when he's around you? Or are they fidgety? Fidgeting isn't always a bad sign. Sometimes it's the opposite. A man who's emotionally stirred might rub the back of his neck, tap his fingers, tug at his sleeves or stretch his hands. These are signs of inner tension, often brought on by excitement, nerves, or attraction. Think about it. If he's used to being in control, emotionally, and now he's not, his body starts compensating. That tension isn't discomfort, it's anticipation. The involuntary smile, the tell he can't hide. Let's talk about the smile that gives it all away. Not the polite one, not the forced one, the involuntary one. The one that flashes across his face when you laugh. The one that softens his whole expression when you walk into a room. The one he tries to hide, but fails. That's the moment his heart shows up before his brain can stop it. This kind of smile isn't calculated. It's felt, and when you see it, just for a second, know that it's real. Because the body doesn't lie, especially in love. Putting it all together. These signs might seem small on their own, but when you see them consistently over time, they tell a story. A story that sounds like this. I want to be closer. I want to connect. I feel something here, even if I haven't said it out loud. So ask yourself, does he lean toward you even in group settings? Do his eyes find yours more often than not? Is his body calm or buzzing with quiet energy when he's near you? Is he always just a little closer than necessary? If yes, you're seeing the language of real emotional investment, unspoken, unfiltered, and undeniable. We've journeyed through 4 powerful signs that a man is emotionally drawn to you, each one subtle, but rich with meaning. He mirrors your energy and language. He shows selective vulnerability. He pays strategic attention to what matters most to you. His body gives away what his words won't say. But there's one final piece to this emotional puzzle. One that pulls everything together. One that, more than any single behavior, reveals whether a man is truly falling for you. Consistency. In a world full of mixed signals, breadcrumbing, and emotional ambiguity, consistency is the love language that cuts through the noise. And when it's there, especially alongside everything else we've explored, it speaks louder than any "I love you" ever could. But before we dive into what real consistency looks like, we need to understand one last concept. The quiet test. How men subconsciously test emotional safety. This might surprise you. Men test emotional safety in ways most women never notice. Not because they're playing games, but because they're trying to protect themselves from getting hurt. Here's what that looks like. He shares something small and emotional, then watches how you respond. He subtly withdraws for a moment, not to punish you, but to see if you'll come closer without being asked. He brings up a belief, a fear, or a mistake, and checks whether you judge or accept. Why? Because deep down, he's asking, can I trust you with the parts of me I usually hide? Will you see my mess and still choose me? If I show more, will you stay or slowly pull away? This testing doesn't look like drama. It's quiet, subtle, sometimes even unconscious, but it always has the same goal: emotional clarity. When he's falling, his consistency will increase, not fade. Here's what most women get wrong. They think if a man pulls away or seems hot and cold, it must mean he's confused, overwhelmed, or into her but scared. And while that can be true in some cases, here's the real truth. A man who is falling for you doesn't get more inconsistent. He gets more predictable. He shows up more often. He follows through on his words. He becomes reliable, not just when it's easy, but especially when it's hard. He may still be nervous. He may still have moments of hesitation. But overall, his pattern will stabilize. Because love for a healthy man creates clarity, not chaos. It motivates investment, not distance. What real consistency looks like. Consistency doesn't mean he's texting you 24/7 or making dramatic declarations. Instead, it looks like this. He reaches out regularly, not just when he's lonely, but because you're on his mind. He remembers things you said and follows up on them. He introduces you to people in his life, not as a prize, but as a priority. His communication style doesn't swing wildly depending on his mood. When there's conflict or stress, he doesn't disappear. He leans in. Consistency isn't always romantic. Sometimes it's quiet and boring and beautiful. It's the good night text he didn't forget. The way he remembers your presentation and asks how it went, even if it wasn't a big deal to him. The fact that his energy doesn't shift depending on whether he got what he wanted. That's emotional maturity. And that's the kind of consistency that reveals emotional commitment. Why consistency is the ultimate sign. Think about it. Anyone can make a great first impression. Anyone can mirror your energy, flirt with you, listen closely for a week, or make eye contact over dinner. But only someone who's truly emotionally drawn to you can do something harder. Show up with care, intention, and stability over time. Because love isn't built in the extremes. It's built in the middle space, the ordinary days, the unsexy check-ins, the follow-through that says, "You matter to me," even when I don't say it outright. Consistency is what makes you feel safe enough to be your full self. It's what allows attraction to grow into attachment. And it's what makes love last long after the butterflies fade. He's not perfect, but he's present. Let's be clear. No man is perfectly consistent. He'll still have off days. He might forget something small. He may go quiet for a few hours when life hits hard. But overall, his pattern will feel reliable. His energy will feel stable. His presence will feel safe. You won't feel like you're being tested. You won't feel like you're chasing his attention. You won't feel like you're always waiting for the next high or bracing for the next low. Instead, you'll feel grounded, even if the relationship is still evolving. That's the power of emotional consistency. And when it shows up with the other signs we've covered, mirroring, vulnerability, attention, and body language, you can be almost certain he's not just interested, he's emotionally invested. Your turn. How to know what you're feeling is real. As we close this series, ask yourself, do his words and actions match more often than not? Has his energy toward you increased rather than faded over time? Does he respond, not just to your texts, but to your emotional needs? Do you feel emotionally safer, not more confused, as things progress? Can you trust his pattern, even if his personality isn't overly expressive? If the answer is yes, you're likely witnessing the real thing. Maybe not full-blown love yet, but the very beginning of it. The kind that grows quietly, but intentionally. Final thoughts. Don't settle for maybe energy. You deserve more than a man who keeps you guessing. You deserve more than highs and lows, bursts and disappearances, passion with no presence. You deserve mirroring that says, "I feel what you feel." Vulnerability that says, "You can know the real me." Attention that says, "I care about your world." Body language that says, "I'm drawn to you," even when I don't speak. Consistency that says, "I'm here and I'm not going anywhere." Because when a man is falling for you, you won't have to convince yourself. You'll feel it, every day, in 100 small ways. And the most beautiful part? You won't feel the need to chase clarity, because his presence will be your answer. If this resonated with you, don't keep it to yourself. Hit like, subscribe, and share this with someone who needs to hear it. Because every woman deserves clarity, not confusion.